Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya taratmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya taratmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya taratmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya taratmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya taratmanam srijamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutanamdharmasya taratmanam srijamyaham. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samstapanartaya
Dalita Hiranyakashi Kashipu Tanu Vringan Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Vringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamala Varenakam Adhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Vringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. And everyone together. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Om Hri Om. Well, namaste, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here with you. Before you sit down, could you turn on the air conditioner a little bit? And pretty seriously, it's warm here. People may have this idea who live outside of Omaha that it's always freezing here. It's not. The weather will go up and down. So today it's actually pretty warm. It has been for quite some time. And then, yeah, it just goes up and down. Sometimes it's very cold, sometimes it's actually very warm. And what season it is scarcely seems to matter. But right now it's definitely very warm. Well, again, welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you today. And let me tell you, as I mentioned the last time, we are going to be doing something somewhat special today, and that is that we're going to have 100% Q&A. So basically, I will just be taking questions from the audience. That means both from our congregation that is here, as well as from people who are online as well. So begin to rack up your questions. Don't ask them yet, however, because before we begin, I have to make an announcement to everyone. And that means especially those individuals all throughout the world who are serious supporters of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. As people know, this is a movement that has been growing tremendously, really from its beginning, but especially the last several years, meaning, I can only guesstimate the last 6, 7, 8 years, something like that. Let's say from, maybe roughly 8 years ago till now. And this is not in any way exaggeration. We don't need to exaggerate. All the statistics are there. We've grown about tenfold in the last maybe 8 years, something like that. And we are continuing to grow and grow. Indeed, in the last month, actually, we have grown tremendously. For some reason, in the last month especially, we've had more and more people inquiring, coming to us. We've had people moving here to the Vedic heartland, and just so many things that have been happening. So this is indeed a growing movement. But as I've mentioned to people in the past, anyone who knows anything about organization, meaning nonprofit organization, anything like this, but especially a nonprofit, there is no such thing as a nonprofit organization, including religious organizations that run without donations, that run without funds. There is no such thing, unless you're talking about a so-called organization of maybe 3 people who meet in someone's basement, and that's the extent of it. But if there's any sort of movement, and it is a nonprofit, any nonprofit needs to run on donations, and that is true for the ISDS as well. So as people know, since pretty much the beginning of the ISDS, every year we have had yearly year-end fundraisers. So around this time, around November 15th, which was yesterday, today is the 16th, like many other organizations toward the end of the year, we also have a fundraising campaign. And our goal is just to raise as much in donations as we possibly can. And what that means, we usually don't put an exact number on it, whether that's 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, 1 million, 10 million, whatever that is. We don't put a number on it. Rather, we just leave it up to individuals who are out there who are supporters of the ISDS to look into their hearts and indeed to donate as generously as they can within their means. You see, I always feel every year for decades now, I always feel obligated to always say that, within one's means. We have members of the ISDS who are literally multi, and you could add a few more multi to that, millionaires. We have some who are barely making ends meet. We have people in nations throughout the world where, the nations are quite poor, and then vice versa as well. So we always leave it up truly to the individual. We don't pressure anyone to give to the ISDS. But indeed, as is within your means, if you can please donate to the ISDS, now is the time. Our fundraising campaign, again, started yesterday, and it will go on until 1 minute to midnight on December 31st of this year. And the reason why that is the case is because we are indeed a 501c3 IRS recognized nonprofit. That being the case, if you want some sort of tax relief as a result of donating to a charitable nonprofit, this is the time to do it, is right now before the turn of the year, before January 1st. So indeed, if you will look on the chat, you'll see that there is a There is a link that is there, and very simply, it's dharmacentral.com/fundraiser. That's simple. If you go there, you'll see more explanation as far as what it is that we're doing, what we have accomplished thus far, just this year alone, what to speak of in the decades that we've been around, what we have accomplished thus far, and what it is that we intend to do with your hard-earned donations. Because indeed, again, people don't quite understand why it is that nonprofits do indeed need money to run. And let me tell you what we are doing. We are continuing to expand this temple. Indeed, I would say that we've done more construction on this temple this last year than we have in the last 15 years that we've bought this building. Would you say that's the case? Yeah. We've done so much construction here, so much improvement of the building that it is truly amazing. Anyone, for example, who was here in the past, let's say 1-2 years ago, you come today and you'll see yourself the things that we've done here, including the largest project that we have, which at first we were even thinking maybe we would have to hire actual construction people to do this. And then when they gave us estimates of $10,000, one gave us an estimate of $32,000 to do this, and that is to do our library. We realized, no, we can't do that. So instead, we are doing most, not all, because we can't do it all, but we're doing much of the construction ourselves. So indeed, we are building a brand new library. As far as the construction part that we can do, at least, that we can do, I would say it is roughly 85% done, something like that. But our goal is to have a brand new room that will be what we are calling the Saraswati Library, Saraswati Devi Library. And indeed, once it's done, it's going to be truly beautiful. It's going to be situated under the temple room. So right now we're in the temple room. So underneath there's the basement. And this room is going to end up being maybe the most beautiful room in the entire building, actually, by the time we're finished. This room had literally nothing to it. When I say nothing, I mean there wasn't really a ceiling. I mean, there was something there. There still is no floor. There's concrete and cinder blocks as far as the walls. Well, that's all changed. That's all radically changed. Now we have walls. Now we just have to mud the walls, paint the walls. We're going to hire people to do the flooring, etc. And eventually we are going to have wall-to-wall, beautiful, hand-built bookcases. It's going to be a room of bookcases. And when we're ready, when all that is ready, we will move the books into the library. And then we are going to buy a special, beautiful piece of furniture that will be an altarpiece that will be in the Saraswati Devi library. And we are going to be purchasing a beautiful image of Saraswati, a beautiful murti. And she's approximately 1.5 feet high, so approximately this big, rather large, and pure marble, and absolutely beautiful. I looked for her myself because I wanted to make sure that she was visually, iconographically perfect and accurate. And this is what we have found. But, we have to purchase her, and she is very expensive. The altar furniture that we want to place her on, we haven't done research into that yet. I've looked around. That will also be a little bit expensive because we want to buy extremely good furniture. Then we want a little bit of furniture for the library itself, some seats, some very nice, comfortable chairs that people can sit in. So that's one thing that we're doing. The other thing is indeed general maintenance. Again, people may not be aware of this. We have a very large building here. It's basically, really technically, it's a house. It's a house. It's something like a 5-bedroom home. If you include what we're calling the library, what is my office, they're meant to be bedrooms. So it's a rather large house. We now have individuals who are living here, etc. We have 2 brahmacharis living here full-time. To simply maintain this place, in addition to all the other projects that the ISDS engages in, costs a lot of money monthly. You can imagine everything, the electric bill, the water bill, the gas bill, etc., etc. In addition to that, of course, all of the things that of necessity our IT people have to subscribe to, all the apps, all the various programs that some of which are quite expensive, that we have to subscribe to, and on and on and on and on. The point being that indeed it costs money to run the ISDS. And indeed we are now a movement that is situated in 70 nations throughout the world. So this is why we need your donations, is for these things and much, much more. Much, much more. Indeed, I don't want to talk about everything, but if you go to the website, if you go to dharmacentral.com/fundraiser, there's much more explanation there of what we've accomplished, what we wish to accomplish in the future. But again, your donations would be very, very much appreciated. And in addition, if you also would like to become a monthly tithing member of the ISDS, you can do that as well. You go to the same website, dharmacentral.com, and on the menu, right on top, you'll see membership. And you can feel free to become a monthly tithing member. That means you can donate as little as $5. You can donate $500, $5,000 a month, whatever you want, even if it's just $10, whatever is, again, within your means as a person. So with that, thank you so much for listening to me. And indeed, we will be raising donations for the next roughly month and a half, something like that, until the ISDS has a truly wonderful, wonderful war chest of funds for what we're about to do in 2026. This is the last thing that I'm going to say about this. That is very important. Many of our top leaders have spoken about this, both independently, people have brought this up over the course of the last month or so. 2026 is going to be the year of the biggest growth in the history of the International Sanatana Dharma Society. Why? Well, we're all on the same page on this, because the time is now. The time is now for the International Sanatana Dharma Society to finally become fully activated in order to change and to save this world. 2026 is going to be the year of Dharma. And it will be the year that the ISDS grows bigger than it ever has been, and by far. But for that, we need your help in any way that you can help us. So I thank you very much. And with that, now, questions and answers. We will be doing this for the duration of our time together. So indeed, if anyone has any questions, either online, feel free to put your questions in the chat. Anyone here as well, in our live congregation, please feel free to ask. Please. Nice and loud.
Okay, Acharyaji. My question was concerning chapter 3 of the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it is, both with the verse and the purport, explained that there are Brahmas in the conditioned souls in the post of Brahma, who it is possible that they are not a devotee of Vishnu, of Sriman Narayana, that they are not even religious, they are just powerful and they think they are God. Is there a way to know if ours is one of those? If our Brahma is a devotee, and how one might know that?
Very deep question. All right, very good. And hopefully people in the online audience heard the question. So indeed, before I answer that specifically, which I will in depth actually, just a little bit of background, because there are always newer people who may not even have a clue what we're talking about. So I always like to give a little bit of introductory explanation first. First of all, indeed, Sanatana Dharma teaches that there are a multiplicity of universes, that this is not the only one, but there are many universes. And there are several things that they have in common. At the same time, of course, they're all diverse. The other universes are not like here. Our universe is not like other universes. There are different people in all the different universes. They're not replicas of ourselves in any way whatsoever. So indeed, when we think of this sort of expanse of the material world, it is mind-boggling. Even thinking of one universe, but then what to speak of so many universes. Now, one of the things, of many things, that these universes have in common is that as far as the cosmogony, i.e. how it is that each universe is formed in its very beginning, it's the same with every universe. And that is that there is one being who first comes into being. That is known as a Brahma. Indeed, this is why a universe in Sanskrit is even called a Brahmanda. That is a realm of Brahma. Now, this one being first comes into existence in the universe. He is then the chief material progenitor of that universe, i.e. he is the creator, what we would call the creator. That's why even when you read even something as simplistic as a Wikipedia article on Hinduism, they'll explain this, that, oh yes, Brahma is the creator, Vishnu, lower aspect of Vishnu, is preserver, and Lord Shiva, Rudra, Maheshwara, he is the destroyer. Well, every universe starts off with this one being, a Brahma. And they also are radically individual beings. The Brahma of our universe is not the Brahma of other universes. They're all distinct. Now, who is this Brahma? Where do they come from? And that's the part that is interesting, that indeed is made very clear. When an Atman, when a unit of consciousness falls into illusion, so first that soul, each soul is in the spiritual realm, but then they have a choice. They can continue to grow spiritually, or they can create an artificial sense of self, ahankara. When they do the latter, they are now influenced by the material energy, not the spiritual energy. They are now an illusion. They come into a universe, and they come into a universe as Brahma. So every being who fell into the material world first was Brahma. Now, this sounds amazing and very grand, but it's purely logical. And this is the reason why we first become a Brahma. When we fall from a quiescent state of being in spiritual bliss to then illusion, it's not that we fall into such a state and fall down infinitely into the lowest depths of the material world. Rather, it's kind of a motion like this. It's so slight that the illusion is so slight that when you fall into the material world, you become first the highest being in the material world, but still a being influenced by illusion, but subtle illusion. Now, from there, of course, you can enter the realm of reincarnation. Now, with this understanding, again, Sanatana Dharma teaches us, and let me make this clear for people who think they know what quote-unquote Hinduism is all about. If you don't understand what I'm about to tell you, then you need to start over again. Sanatana Dharma teaches us that we are all radically individual personalities, and I'm talking about first spiritually. And then conjoined with that concept, the necessary also conjoining concept that necessarily we also have free will. If you are a radically independent personality, what that means is that necessarily you have free will, i.e. the ability to express who you are as that personality. Now, all that is just preface. Now to get to answering your exact question. So again, there are a multiplicity necessarily of Brahmas within materiality. So when a being falls, they become the Brahma of a specific universe. That's why there are so many different universes. They're all radically distinct. In other words, some Brahmas will choose to be spiritual for the duration of their lifetime, which is billions of years. And at the end of that lifetime, they will go back home, back to Godhead. They will go back to the spiritual realm. That's a tiny minority. Most will make wrong choices, and they will slowly become corrupt. And when they pass away, they will enter the cycle of reincarnation. They'll enter this carousel wheel, this Ferris wheel of different lifetimes, sometimes up, sometimes down, all in accordance with what? Choice. Now, there are some Brahmas And this is what is very specifically being spoken of in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3 that you ask about. There are some Brahmas who really are not even spiritual to begin with. Now, they don't start off bad necessarily, but they're not necessarily devotees. And that is what's being spoken of. So when it comes to both extremes, Brahmas who are devotees all throughout their life, go back to Godhead, that's a minority. As far as the others who are never really spiritual, that's also a minority. The majority tend to be mixed. The majority tend to be mixed. Now, I forget if you asked this or if I intuited that you would have or should have asked this. What about our Brahma? I forget, you did ask that. Okay, good. What about our Brahma? Our Brahma is an individual who is mixed. How do we know this? Because Acharyaji says so? No, never just because of that, because the Vedic scriptures make this clear. This is why you'll read stories about Brahma where he is a great devotee. You'll read stories about Brahma where he's an illusion. He tries to best Krishna when Krishna's a young boy, for example. That's the famous story. He thinks he can trick Krishna. He wants to test God. Mistake, because he was made a fool out of. But not just that. There are many other instances, actually. There are stories where Brahma himself admits that, oh, I don't know everything. I'm just a fool like everyone else. Brahma himself admits this. So our Brahma is mixed. He is overall pious. Is he a devotee? What does that mean? Let's deal with definition of that. What does it mean that he is a devotee? Because he is. That means he acknowledges who is God. Initially. So in other words, what the Vedic scriptures, and not just the Vedic scriptures, interestingly, also other parallel stories and lore, ancient lore about Brahma also make this clear. He is slowly kind of winding down his devotional side and becoming more and more, let me state this very charitably, not devotional. This is why, for example, Plato, the Platonists, the Neoplatonists, the Pythagoreans, so many individuals, Gnostics, very correctly refer to Brahma as the demiurge. And for them, the demiurge is not so much a good being. They recognize that he's also the creator. You know, their stories of the demiurge are exactly the same as Brahma, same being. But they also recognize that he may have been good at one time, but not so much anymore. And again, why? Is this shocking? No, he's an Atman within the material world, and he's here for the wrong reason. All Brahmas are. They fell down. So, does that answer your question? Very good. Very good. Now, let me just go to our questions here, because we have about 2,789 questions I can see. Oh my Lord, it's actually a little more than that. We have so many questions. Give me a moment to just go through a few of these, because I know, sadly, I can tell you already, we're not going to be able to answer all these questions, but we'll try. I will try my best to answer as many as I can. Very nice. Here's a very nice question. It is, Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. This love that we feel for God, is this infinite or has it multiple depths? Because it feels so deep from the soul, like it wants nothing else but that. Could you explain? Yes, very nice question, actually. This is a question that is of the nature of bhakti. Really, what is the nature of bhakti? This deals with several different things, actually. I've dealt with this question and sub-questions arising from this question in the past. But first, you say this love that we feel for God, is it infinite or has it multiple depths? Yes, both. Now, let me explain what is meant by this. Let me first explain this from a quantitative understanding of ontological reality. So first of all, when we talk about the infinite, what do we mean? God is infinite, compared to which, now listen to the words very carefully, compared to which we are finite. God is infinite, compared to which we are finite. Now, we, that is the Atman, have been described in both ways, as both finite in comparison to the infinite, but at the same time itself being infinite. Now, what is meant by this? The soul itself has an infinite possibility of expanse as far as spiritual growth, as far as spiritual depth, as far as spiritual understanding and expression of love. So we have an infinite expansion of depth. So in other words, to beg the question, does it ever get to the point, let's say we are liberated, we are in the spiritual realm, we have been there for an infinite number of time, does it get to the point where we've grown, and then we hit that glass ceiling, and we can't grow anymore in our love for God, our spiritual depth, etc.? Of course not. That's not the nature of Atman. We continue to grow, and for eternity. But at the same time, we also are finite, and here we go, in comparison to God. In comparison to God. So our infiniteness has finitude in comparative analysis to God. So all that being understood, this I hope answers the question that, yes, what we feel toward God as far as bhakti, pure devotion, is something that is infinite. It goes on forever, and it has multiple depth after depth after depth, wave upon wave within the ocean of devotion, mellows of which become sweeter and sweeter, and not just sweeter in a quantitative sense, but qualitatively different. So this is how our love for God continues to grow. Very good. So I think I explained that. I hope I explained that sufficiently. Let me look now at some other questions. Namaste Acharyaji, I offer my humble obeisances, and I thank you for always spreading Dharma in this world. Thank you for your wonderful words of encouragement. Very good. If I read this out loud, maybe I'll understand the question a little bit better, but it seems like a very heartfelt, very nice question. Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. My obeisances to you and well wishes to the Vedic heartland as well from up here in Canada. What can I do to help further the ISDS from the position of provincial legislature? So from the position of I know what provincial legislature is. I know that there's a somewhat different system in Canada than there is in America. If you mean that you are in a provincial legislature, that is, that you are a politician, political leader, etc., then the very best thing that you can do to help the ISDS is to be the very best leader that you can. And to do that, actually, unless you already have, and if not, then do it again, I would suggest that you read several books, that you read the Dharma Manifesto, which is my work dealing with very specifically political philosophy from the Vedic perspective, but written for contemporary times. In other words, not just theory, but no, how do we establish a dharmic government in 2015-16, etc. I'm sorry, 2025 and 26. But yes, if you read that book, that will be helpful. If you also read Principles of Perfect Leadership, that also will be extremely helpful. And another work that I would recommend is Interregnum. Interregnum is a very good book dealing with Vedic politics. Read those books if you have not already, and use the wisdom that is there within those books to be the best political leader that you can. And let me tell you that you're not alone. We have devotees, not just who are following Sanatana Dharma. Obviously, there are many, like Tulsi Gabbard, of course, is one of them. Kash Patel, who's the head of the FBI, people may not understand this, but he follows our religion. He is a Vaishnava. He is a devotee of Krishna. But in addition, there are members of the International Sanatana Dharma Society who are sitting politicians today. So indeed, this is our goal, is to eventually affect the world in a very good and positive way. So this is what I would ask you to do very humbly. Be the very best leader that you can. That means represent your people, represent them perfectly. Be incorruptible and have God's grace guide you always. This is what I would say. And that way, He will be helping to restore Dharma to our world. Very nice. Interesting. Here is an interesting question, and it's somewhat of a question of comparative religion, but at the same time, it's a good question. So I will definitely answer it. I know that it's asked in a very sincere way. And that is there a causal link between the actions of Indra at Govardhana Hill and the austere penances we later see performed by Odin in the European tradition? Yes and no. And let me explain what I mean by yes and no. I mean truly yes and no. So first of all, by no, let me do this in reverse. Indra, i.e. Odin, i.e. the thunder god, the individual who is the king of heaven, and you find the king of heaven in every single Indo-European religion upon the face of the earth, even some that are not Indo-European religions. This is something that's universal, and again, I need to stress this for individuals who are followers of Asatru very specifically. Odin is Indra. Odin is Indra. Odin is Indra. They're the same being. Everyone accepts this. Everyone accepted this. Every scholar, every religious leader, etc. They're the same being. Now, all that being said, Indra/Odin is always someone who performs austerity. This is something that a king does. People may not be aware of this, actually. I've spoken about this. I don't know if I've even written about it. But kings are known to be individuals who, when they need to, in order to rule righteously, they often do austerities. That is, that they'll do penances. They'll do very, very difficult things. So this is something that Odin/Indra has always done, as is true for any king, on the one hand. On the other hand, indeed, we know that there is the story, and this is why Indra is scarcely worshipped anymore in the Vedic pantheon. We know that at one time, Indra was very important. If you read the Rig Veda, something like 1/4 of the hymns in the Rig Veda are to Odin. Now, no one worships him. You can go to almost any Hindu temple on the face of the earth, you're not going to find people worshiping Indra. Now, the question is, why is this the case? It's because he's an imperfect being. He's the king of the heavens, meaning simply that he's the chief general of the gods. He's not God. He's not a perfect being. He's rather imperfect, and that's always been understood. Well, approximately 5,300 years ago, when Krishna was here, indeed Indra made the mistake of blaspheming Krishna. It was a very big mistake. You can just look up the story of Govardhana Hill rather than me telling you the whole story for 5 minutes. And indeed, from that moment on, Indra was not worshipped anymore. So he has not been seriously worshipped, for the last roughly 5,000 years. Rather, that worship very, very slowly kind of trailed off to today. Over 5,000 years into the Kali Yuga, no one really worships Indra. We still honor him. You see, there's nothing wrong with worshiping him. Interestingly, I have to have this caveat. There's nothing wrong in worshiping Indra. We still venerate him. He's still the king, quote unquote, of the gods, meaning simply he is the king of this realm known as Svarga. But despite that being the case, again, he's simply not respected as much anymore because of the fact that he insulted Krishna, which was a big mistake. Krishna showed him who was boss in the end. Let me just say that. So I hope that answers the question. Very nice. Another technical question here from someone who is wonderful and a very knowledgeable and sincere devotee. It is Dandavat Maharaja. Are the Nityasuris, eternally situated in Vaikuntha, as they are, also considered to be Tatashta Shakti? Thank you. Jaya Sriman Narayana. Very good. And I'm sorry to give this maybe non-satisfying answer, but this is the answer. Some are, some are not. Now, what is meant by Tatashta Shakti? What is meant by Tatashta Shakti is something very technical and something very specific. And that means that they arise. That means the Atmans who arise from the general sphere, the general sector of Shakti, so that's Tatashta Shakti, of energy of God in which the Atmans are there before they then pick their course of traversing. That is what Tatashta Shakti is very specifically. Now, when it comes to the Nityasuris, for the vast majority of these individuals, they would not be. And why is that the case? Well, they are indeed eternally liberated. That being the case, they would not have originated from Tatashta Shakti itself. Now, the reason why I say, oh, some did, some didn't, is because some would be classified as individuals who are the same form of Atman, but not the same origination, if that makes sense. The same form of Atman. In other words, when it comes to the Nityasuris, some of these are indeed limited Atmans just like us, but it doesn't mean that they had the same origination. So that's why you would have to look on a case by case basis. So I hope that answers the question. Very nice. Here's a question that people have asked me again in the past. Is the Sikh path Vedic or Dharmic in any way? Well, yes, let me answer that. It's certainly not Vedic. It's not Vedic, and the reason why is because even though, actually, no. Let me back up and let me first explain this. When we talk about the history of Sikhism, we're talking about two different things historically. Just like I've spoken about this when it comes to Jesus, how you have Jesus, the teacher, who was purely Vedic, and then several generations after are all of his followers following purely his teachings? Of course not. Some are, some aren't. Same thing with Buddhism. The Buddha himself was a follower of Sanatana Dharma. Several hundred years after, and specifically after the Emperor Ashoka, they're not quite following his teachings. Some people are, some people aren't. The same thing with Sikhism. When you're speaking about Sikhism, are you talking about the Sikhism of Guru Nanak and the first, let's say, several gurus after him? Or are you talking about post Gobind Singh, who was the last, that is the 10th guru, who altered things dramatically? Now, when we're speaking about the actual founder of Sikhism, Guru Nanak, he was Vedic. He was Vedic at that time, now we have to get into history, we have to get into everything. At that time, that is 16th century North Indian understanding. Now, what is a 16th century North Indian understanding? That means under the Mughal state, under the Mughal empire, with Abrahamism all around him, being surrounded by Abrahamism, etc. Guru Nanak himself was known to be a Vaishnava. Let's just not play games with this. He wasn't just quote-unquote Hindu. He was a Vaishnava. He was a devotee of Krishna. We know all the stories about him, how he went to Jagannath Puri, for example, and he offered his obeisances to the Murti of Jagannatha. So this nonsense about how, we have to reject quote-unquote idols. Well, Guru Nanak didn't. Guru Nanak recited the names of Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. This is what he personally called God, and this was the name that he recited, Govinda, which is a name of Narayana, a name of Krishna. He himself was a Vaishnava. Now, of course, he taught something in a very unique way. Why? Because living in Punjab at that time, there was literal war going on between the Muslims and the Hindus. So he tried to create peace by creating a path where he took his understanding of Sanatana Dharma as a Vaishnava, but he also tried to incorporate what he felt were monotheistic Islamic elements, and he created this teaching, which later became known as Sikhism. Now, that remained pure for a little while, but then the last guru, Gobind Singh, changed everything, rigidified it, and made it into a separate sect known as Sikhism. Previous to that, it was not a sect. Guru Nanak didn't come to establish a sect, a new religion. He never said that. Rather, it was Gobind Singh who now made this into something separate. So, the founder, Guru Nanak, was a Vaishnava. He was Vedic. He was a follower of Sanatana Dharma, on the one hand. On the other hand, Sikhism as it is today is not Vedic. They accept many parts of the Vedas, but they do not accept the Veda exclusively as the revelation from God. Rather, they accept other things like Quran, Bible, etc. That's not Vedic. So this is the somewhat nuanced answer, but it is the answer. Guru Nanak himself was a Vaishnava and therefore Vedic. Sikhism as it is now is neither. It is a hodgepodge. So I hope that answers the question. I'm sorry, one last thing. It is, on the other hand, dharmic. See, there's a difference between Vedic and dharmic. Contemporary Buddhism is not Vedic. They don't accept the Veda, but they're dharmic. Meaning very simply that they accept the principle of natural law. That's dharma. Any religion that accepts natural law is dharmic, but not necessarily Vedic. So I hope that answers the question. Very good. Now, just due to time, because it's already the top of the hour, a minute past actually. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to answer every question, but I will try my very best to answer as many more questions as I finally can. So I may be skipping some questions. If I do skip your question, please don't take offense. It's not because it was a bad question necessarily or anything like this. It's just due to time. I probably will only be able to take maybe 2 or 3 more questions. That's about it. All right, this is a very confused question here. What is earth goddesses, Nagas, and Kali, Durga, and Mahashakti, Mahavishnu, and Mahashiva, Mahashiva, and Mahavishnu are the same? I won't be answering that question. I will not be. I assume you're asking very sincerely, but there's too much that's there. To answer one of those would take 10 minutes. To answer all of them would take over an hour, so I'm sorry. But interesting question. Very nice. I will definitely read this. Namaste, Sri Acharyaji. I recently met you in person and would first like to thank you for taking the time to answer so many of my questions. You shared with me that after, well, let me stop there for just now. First of all, yes, I know who you are. I remember you. It was wonderful meeting you. Namaste. And yes, I'm so very happy to see you here. Please continue to participate both here and on Discord and in any way that you can. But now I'll get to your actual question here. You shared with me that after the Atman finds union with God, it cannot fall into Maya again, and that it was only able to fall in the first place because it did not truly know God. I wonder if you could elaborate on this. My apologies if you already have. You don't need to apologize. I have answered it and elaborated on it several hundred times in very great depth, but it's actually an important question. I don't mind answering it again. So indeed, what this has to all do with is the initial state, that is the pre-fall state of the Atman, and then how the Atman, when the Atman indeed falls into the material world and then achieves final liberation. So several things to be said about this. When the Atman finds itself within the realm of what is called the Brahma Jyoti, the light of God, Brahma, short A, not Brahma, not the creator, but Brahma, meaning Brahman, meaning God. And then Jyoti means light. When the soul finds itself within this realm of the light of God, that is, it's not within the material world, it is within the spiritual realm, but it's not seeing God face to face. It's not communing with God face to face. In that state, the Atman can always fall down if it's in the Brahma Jyoti. So this is how we originate at first, is that we all originate in the Brahma Jyoti. When it comes to the point where, as I've said many times, indeed I have some videos where I go into this for almost half an hour, when the Brahma Jyoti comes to the point of self-individuation, i.e. it begins to experience awareness of itself as self, Atma Bodhi, it then begins to experience other and to understand other as something separate from itself. Desire begins to arise. I want this, I do not want this, I want to go here, not there, all these desires. and then coupled finally with will, free will, the ability to act on such desires with the understanding of self and non-self. When that occurs, this all happens when the soul is still in the spiritual realm. It is within God, but it is not having devotion toward God. At that point, the soul has the choice to continue to truly know God in devotional terms and to begin now to explore its identity in pure loving relationship with God and to thus continue to grow spiritually. That's the first path it can choose. The second path is to instead want to be God, to just use code word. It wishes to be God rather than serve God, rather than love God, rather than know God. It wants to be God. It wants the powers of God. It wants the powers to create, to destroy, to build, etc. All of these powers. And it chooses an artificial, a false identity. This now is called ahankara, ego, false ego, artificial sense of self. When it chooses that path, it then comes into the material world. Now, let's deal with just this trajectory. That is when the Atman comes into the material world. Now, being in the material world, of course, it exercises that freedom to the utmost degree. This is why we reincarnate. This is why we create karma, because for every ethical thing that we do, we choose with our freedom to harm. Well, we're going to have karma. We are going to be harmed similarly. And it's not just a matter of retribution. It's a matter of justice. It's a matter of the scales of justice being balanced. And then conversely, if we do good in a material way, we also have to experience that good. Well, going through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, eventually the hope is that that individual soul will eventually come out of this artificial state of illusion and will eventually have liberation. Now, liberation is not merely liberation. And indeed, this is what makes Sanatana Dharma different from every other, even dharmic path upon the face of the earth. Even something as depthful as Buddhism, and trust me, I've studied Buddhism. I've studied it with the best, actually. I've studied it with lamas. I've studied it with the best individuals on earth. I've studied it academically and personally. When it comes to Buddhism, for example, when they speak of this concept of nibbana or nirvana, it's vague. Nothing can be said about it. And this is true also for the Advaitins as well. Nothing can be said about it. There is no understanding. Simply liberation is liberation, and then after that it's a mystery. In Sanatana Dharma, we also even understand the various strata of liberation. Liberation is not all the same. So for those individuals, for example, who, they achieve quote-unquote liberation, technically what does that mean? That simply means that within one's psyche, within one's both moral but consciousness frame, an individual has the deep realization that I am consciousness, that which is not consciousness is not me. Once you have that full realization of self-realization, you're liberated. Now, if you stick only to that self-realization alone, what happens? You go back to the state from whence you began. You're in the Brahmajyoti again. That is, in a way, just to state it in an almost comical way, you're kind of floating in an ocean of an infinite number of other finite units of consciousness. And it's very peaceful, and it's very blissful, and you are within the realm of eternality, etc., etc. But that is considered a lower form of liberation. Why? You can make the same mistake again. You can fall down into the material world. Now, what does Krishna explain as clear as light in Bhagavad Gita, but it's also explained in so many other Vedic scriptures as well? That is that when you, in addition to having self-realization, you come to the point of God consciousness, i.e. now you go beyond merely self, even in the spiritual sense, and you now begin to know that which is the self of our self. You begin to know God himself, and with devotion now establishing reciprocal loving relationship with God, and now having achieved liberation, you go directly to that Vaikuntha, where you now are with God in person. At that point, you never, ever fall down. So that is what the Vedic scriptures explain. That is the understanding and the teaching of all of the great true acharyas and gurus and rishis of the past. This is the explanation. So I hope that answers your question. Very good. And again, I appreciate your question and that you would ask such a question, but these are not good questions to ask. Can you please explain Vishishta Advaita? That's essentially like going to a guru and saying, oh, can you explain all of Vedanta? I'll sit here and wait. No, try to come with a specific question. To explain Vishishta Advaita, there's a book you can pick up. It's a grand philosophy. The best book in the English language is by P.N. Srinivasacharya called The Philosophy of Vishishta Advaita. It's about that thick. It's, I forget, maybe 700 pages, something like that. I'm not going to give you a 700-page dissertation as a scholar, as a professor, explaining Vishishta Advaita. Rather, ask me a question, not that's an academic question that would take 5 hours to answer. Ask me a question about how you can be happy spiritually. Ask me a question about how your life can have meaning, how you can slowly begin to follow sadhana in such a way that you can come to personal spiritual growth and perfection. Those are good questions. Rather, a very big general question, can you explain Vishishta Advaita? Yes, I can. There's your answer. I can. Very good. Very good. Maybe I'll see if there's maybe one more question. And if not, then perhaps we'll stop here. Let me give people here another chance. Any questions here? Please, another.
It was just slightly going off of my initial question, Acharyaji, about Brahma. In reference to you speaking about that the Vedic scriptures explain to us whether or not our particular Lord Brahma is a devotee or not. If there wasn't, just hypothetically, if there wasn't Vedic scriptures explaining specifically, would it actually affect how the Brahma would actually create if they were a devotee or not?
Yes. That's simple. Yes, absolutely. And why can I answer that, so adamantly and emphatically like that? It's because, again, everything is based upon personality. If you have one author versus the second author versus the third author, and you put them all in separate rooms, they don't communicate with each other, and you say, oh, write a novel, let's say around 300 pages, something like that. They're going to be radically different. And why? In accordance with their personality. So personality is primary. Personality trumps everything. Personality trumps creation. Personality is the cause of which you then have the effect, etc. This is the case with God. You can see this with every individual being, from humans all the way up to Brahma. And why? Because it's the case with God. Why is it that if you truly understand the nature of reality, not the complaining individual who wants to play with theodicy. Oh, why is there so much suffering? Why is there so much suffering? Why is it that I see ugliness in addition to beauty in this world? Now, if you take the grand vision and then look down upon reality, and you understand that even with the so-called imperfections that are here, the whole reality is something that is actually perfect. And even the so-called ugliness is something that is a resultant effect of beings in illusion, not God. So in other words, when you look at the totality of this, and then you realize that the perfection of reality is itself the effect of which the cause is that supreme personality of Godhead, you see, then again you understand that personality is the cause. In the same way, this is true for Brahma. This is why, indeed, universes are different. So, this is hard for people to even conceive. not most people, nobody, no human is actually capable of fully perceiving the grandeur of our one universe. Not the greatest astronomer. Actually, if anything, the greatest astronomer probably less so. It would have to be actually a person of great spiritual insight, and even they could not fully understand the grandeur of one universe. If they somehow could then, on top of even that impossibility, compare our universe to other universes, they would see distinct differences between them. Why are there distinct differences? Because of personality. Personalities are distinct, beginning first with that first being, Brahma. So yes, it's as a result of the personality of Brahma that a universe will seem a certain way, look a certain way, etc. This is why it's also explained. What is explained in the Vedic scriptures? That indeed everything that I'm saying, that the morphological development of a given cosmos is dependent upon the personality of that first creator. And how is this explained in the Vedic scriptures? The specific universe in question will even have a size in accordance with how many heads a Brahma has. So ours is small. Our Brahma only has 4 heads. As a result, we actually are in a smaller universe. There are some Brahmas who have 1,000 heads, not 4. There are some who have 1,000. So indeed, in accordance with that personality, the construct of the universe follows suit. Does that make sense? Very good. All right, any other questions before we wrap things up? How about our baby brigade back there? Any questions? You're good? All right, very good. They're philosophically satisfied right now. All right, well, why don't we do this? Because we are over time by some time, about 17 minutes. So why don't we stop here for now? I believe I answered most, if not all, the questions. And again, let me just reiterate a few things before I let everyone go. First of all, I do want to mention this, that we have a Discord server. I don't know if the link is up here. If not, hopefully someone, one of our moderators will put it up there. But indeed, we have a Discord server. If you have not yet joined our Discord server, well, why haven't you? If you're someone who, if you're sincere, if you're honest, if you're someone who wants to truly understand this path very, very in depth, I would ask that you please join our Discord server. And what a Discord server is, for people who don't know, I didn't even know really until several years ago when ours was started. It's a forum, it's a discussion forum, where people can come to our Discord server and they can continue to have discussion, ask questions, etc. about Sanatana Dharma. So please join that when you have a chance. And the other thing I'm going to reiterate is indeed, please visit our website, Dharma Central. And when you're there, you'll see all of our books are available there. I've written 13 books thus far. Another one, a 14th, is going to be coming out in a matter of a few weeks. That book is called Be Strong, and it is indeed about just that. It is a book on how you can be strong in every sector of your being, how you can be strong physically, how you can be strong morally, how you can be strong psychologically, emotionally, intellectually, and especially spiritually. So I'm in the midst of finishing up writing this book. It will be available, hopefully, it'll be available before Christmas. So indeed, let me just say, if you even celebrate Christmas and you would like to get a nice Christmas present for someone you love, indeed, any of our books are good. But also, we'll try to have Be Strong published and ready and available before Christmas. But indeed, visit dharmacentral.com, and while there, again, we are in the midst of our yearly fundraiser, which we do every year. If you can, I ask that you please donate whatever you can, but please donate generously. And again, your donations will help with the International Sanatana Dharma Society. Also, consider becoming a tithing member of the ISDS. And when you do that, you'll be, first of all, an official member of the ISDS, but also, again, it helps us on a monthly basis. It makes it much easier to budget what we're going to be doing month to month if we know, oh, such and such amount will be coming in to help us. So with that, I thank you for your support, because I'm looking on here, I see some individuals who have been supporters of the ISDS for over a decade, for varying amounts of time. So I thank you all very much for your support. And when we get together, I will surprise people as far as what we will do. We will be looking at Vedic scriptures once again. So please join us again next week. And between now and then, everyone, I ask you to please take very good care of yourselves. Namaste. And everyone together with one voice. Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Shriman Narayana.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Jaya Shri Guru.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Sanatana Dharma Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Dharma Rashtra Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
Surya Vangsha Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
International Sanatana Dharma Society Jayate.
Victory to Sanatana Dharma. Evam Bhavatu. May such victory be so. And so it shall be. And everyone, between now and the next time that we get together, I leave you with these words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, wherein he says, Ma Shuchaha, do not fear. Take care, everyone.